What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Dynasty, brought to you by the League FFB. Today, we got something. It's a fan favorite. It's a fan favorite, man. We got a Discord members, Mr. Bowtie in the Discord. We got Anthony Max. We got his team that we're going to audit here in this matchup. So, not in this matchup, in his league. We're going to audit his team in his league. Sorry, it's morning, right? We're still waking up. I don't really got an excuse. It's 11 a.m. East Coast time, but anyways, it is what it is. Let's get our co-host in the building here, though. You guys know the name, MFGDs. Let's get him on, and let's talk some Dynasty Fantasy Football, man. War, how you doing?
What's up, y'all? How we rolling? How we feeling today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. Ready to rock and roll. Ready to get this team popping.
Good. All right. Well, and I see we got some people here in the chat. If you guys are in here, go ahead and hit that comments. Let us know you're here and help us along the way. If you have suggestions for this team, throw them in the chat. We'd love to hear your guys' suggestions and see what we can do to help Anthony out. But War, I have shared the team with you. I'm going to pull it back up. We're going to talk about this team. But first and foremost, let's just digest the league. I want to digest the team. I want to digest the league. And then after we've kind of done that, we can potentially throw out some moves or some potential candidates that we can do. But I've showed you it off camera. I think you and I have both decided that the team here is one that is, if you would have showed us this team maybe 2-3 weeks ago, we might have told you to go in a different direction than we're going to tell you today. But because it's week 9, the team's a little bit older, the team's been performing pretty well. I think we're going to tell them to contend, and I think we're going to try and push for a championship. But you and I are under the same impression that come end of the season, you got to retool this puppy pretty hard in the offseason, right?
Yeah, man. I feel like this team probably needs to take a little step back in order to take a step forward. I mean, there's definitely a couple pieces on this team that you don't trade unless you're getting like the absolute king's ransom. Other than that, yeah, just go for it this year and then see what you could do to retool in the offseason.
And I'm going to share my screen here. That way we can kind of show them the team here. But let me see if I can share this over here. But again, War, this is a team that I think we, at this point in the season, based on where they're at, they're in 3rd place in the league. They are 5-3, I believe, right now, 5-3. And it's a superflex tight end premium PPR league. I'm going to add this over here. Let's put this there. But yeah, it's a superflex tight end premium league, and this is kind of the roster here that we have. So Jalen Hurts, Travis Kelce, Stephon Diggs, DJ Moore, Brian Robinson, Jerry Jeudy, Daniel Jones, Aaron Jones. There's a lot of pieces here. You can see we're pretty heavy here at this quarterback position. That positional strength is pretty heavy to the tight end and to the quarterback position, but we're pretty weak at the wide receiver and at the future draft capital position there in comparison to where we're at with the rest of the team. But I'm interested just kind of on your thoughts here, War, based on the league landscape. And keep in mind, guys, this is a free tool that I'm using. This is Keep Trade Cut. If you put in your sleeper ID, you can pull up this tool. It's free to use. Don't use it as gospel. Definitely don't use it as gospel, but it is free, and it is a good way to kind of view how your team is looking like in community perspective in your leagues from a glance. So you see his dot right here, War, on this league landscape. You see that one that's bolded a little bit?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where he's at as far as that average team value and the average age. So he's a little bit older than I would say most of the leagues, probably the 4th oldest team here in the league, but he's lacking some of that top end value that some of these other teams have. And so I think that's why you and I both agree that this team is probably one that you can push this year, but you're going to have to retool it in the future because of that age and the lack of value.
Yeah. I think his team is like right there, that sweet spot, like to where it's like, which way am I going to go?
Yeah,
and I understand because I have quite a few teams myself that are kind of in that same spot. So hopefully, you have league mates that are willing to give you good deals in the off season.
Yeah, and I think it's a good team to talk about too, and maybe potentially what we do, War, is maybe we do a part 2 for this team where we kind of help him make a push for that title today, but in the offseason we can, help him retool so he gets a little bit younger in the offseason as well. But just a couple other things that I wanted to show you here just on this tool specifically is these are some of the quarterback and receiver stacks there on the right side of that screen. These are some of the stacks that he's working with right now. He has the Daniel Jones, Darren Waller stack, which obviously has been fairly disappointing this year. He has a Tyson Bagent, DJ Moore stack that I'm sure you're appreciative of. And then you said you're not.
Nah.
And then he has a Mac Jones, Devontae Parker stack. But overall, the good news about this team is he has his 24 first, he has his own 25 first, and he has his own 25 or 26 first. So all upcoming 3 years, he has his own first. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share this tab. This is the Dynasty GM tool from Dynasty Nerds. Good tool if you guys want to use them. But this is you can filter at Dynasty and contender values here. So what I'm going to do is this is the Dynasty value. Look at where our boy's sitting right now, War. In that Dynasty value. Pretty close to the bottom of the league. 35,500.
Yeah.
But when we filter that and we look at the contender value, he's upper half of the league. So this is a 12 team. So I think that's why we're going to push to contend. And even when you look at like the difference between some of the guys ahead of him, it's not that much. Like Barmer, he's only 2,000 ahead of him. Caleb's a couple thousand ahead of him. But it looks like Nick DDL is the favorite right now to win this league. I'm not sure where he's at in their standings, but overall, War, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on some of these players. And we'll start looking at some of these players here and we can start exploring some of these trades because I have 6 guys in this league. And when we are exploring some of these trades, what I want to do is I want to look at the contenders. I want to look at the guys who are not contending or not looking like they can contend. And so we have this group of guys down here, Jay Kirby, Hill Bullies, Kravit, Red Panda. We have all these guys that I think would be good candidates to buy from if you were going to contend because those guys look like they're in rebuild at the moment. So we can look at some trades for those teams. But this is the team, War. We've already kind of talked about it a little bit, but let's just filter it by positions. You see, we got Jalen Hurts, Daniel Jones, and probably Mac Jones. Those are the 3 guys that he's rocking with at quarterback this year. Again, this is super flex. At the running back position, we have Jerome Ford, Brian Robinson, Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, Miles Sanders, Aaron Jones. The tight ends, he has Darren Waller and Travis Kelce. So right away, I want to move one of these guys because you don't need both. And then
preferably Darren Waller if you can.
Yeah, I agree. And then at the wide receiver, we got DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Parker, Stephon Diggs, Odell Beckham. So that's kind of what we're looking like. But let's pull up this trade calculator, and we can look at some of these teams. And in fact, let's move over and let's look at who has. So I think, can you agree with me, War, that we need to add a wide receiver to this roster?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So let's look at some of these teams in the league. We can go to league overview. We can look at teams that are good at wide receiver. We can filter that. And we're looking at some of these teams that I want to trade with, right? We said Red Pandas was one of them. They're second in wide receiver. So we might be able to go get a wide receiver from Red Pandas. We're looking at, I don't know who lucky number 7 is. Jay Kirby. We definitely could go get a wide receiver from him. Maybe even Hill Bullies. So those are 3 guys that I'm looking at right away. Are any of these guys weak at tight end? Let's see. Jay Kirby, he's weak at tight end, so he's potentially a candidate that we could send Waller for a wide receiver. And Red Pandas, both of those guys actually are good candidates. So I'm going to pull this over here, and here's where I'm going to want some of your advice, War, because we have Anthony Mack. We're going to take Darren Waller here. We're looking at probably a combination of that dynasty and that contender value because we want to make it worth it for these teams. And let's look at Jay Kirby first and see if there's any potential wide receivers that we can add.
Now, my question is this. Okay, never mind. You just answered it when you pulled up his roster.
What?
I was going to say, is he one of the guys? He's okay. Yeah, that team's definitely could probably would want the services of a solid tight end.
Yeah, I mean, his tight end is Cole Kmet and Chig Okonkwo.
Look, man, y'all, this needs to stop, man.
What?
This needs to stop, bro. This needs to stop. Why y'all all hating on Cole Kmet, man? I don't get it, man. And this ain't no Bears thing either, man. The man has had a great fantasy season. Yes, he still probably needs another tight end on his team, but let's not act like Cole Kmet is chopped liver. I bet you that's what Jay Kirby thinks, that Cole Kmet ain't chopped liver. So it's up to Mr. Anthony Mack to convince Jay Kirby that you don't want to rely on this man. You don't want to rely on the Cole Kmet for the rest of your season. You want to get some real beef up in that locker room. You want to get some real production and look at no other than Darren Waller.
Yeah, I agree. And I also, are you seeing any players on this team that you like in a potential swap? I mean, this guy has first round draft capital out the ass, but I mean, you could maybe potentially go grab a Josh Downs.
I don't feel like he's going to do that.
You don't think he would do that?
No.
Here's another option. Maybe this just isn't a good trade partner for this.
Yeah, because he looked like
move.
he's worked himself into the position of, I have a good team that has good players and draft picks.
Yeah, and here's another option. I put Barmore as the trade partner because Barmore is a contending team, which is probably more likely to buy Darren Waller. He's a contending team that needs tight end. He's the 10th ranked team as far as tight end goes. So right now it looks like, well, he has Dallas Goedert and Tyler Higbee. It's interesting. Maybe he would potentially add another, but I can't imagine the guy with Goddard would add someone. Let's keep looking here. I'm going to keep sharing this tab. So we have tight ends, Barmore. Who's this lucky number 7?
Who does Red Panda have?
Red Panda?
Well, okay. First, let's first I want to get a clear understanding of, can you show us again who's contending right now? Who is his rebuilding?
Yeah, let's look at that.
Because a rebuilding team, of course, they're not gonna buy Darren Waller.
So these are your contending teams here. Nick, Mitch, Hardy, Caleb, Barmore. Those are kind of the top 5 guys there. So if we look at Nick, Mitch, and this is probably how you should be looking at making some trades in your leagues too, is like go and see who are these contending teams, see what type of asset you're trading, make sure that we're doing it that way. So you're trying to at least send offers that make sense for these guys. The worst thing that you can do is go in there and just make an offer, which sometimes people do, right? Like you just go make an offer that benefits you, but you're not thinking about the other team. So we have those 5 teams. They're all contenders. But now let's look at which one of these teams are weak. So we had Nick, which Nick is very strong at tight end. He's the number 1 team at tight end, actually. So he's probably not a good trade candidate. Then we have, let's see, Mitch. Where's Mitch? Is that Mitch? Might be Mahomes bail bonds. I think that is. Let's see. Mitch is no. I think that's lucky number 7. So he's going to be a candidate potentially. Yeah, man. I mean, I think let's just keep it moving. I mean, let's just keep looking at them, right? So we're looking at this team. We're going to take Darren Waller. We're going to go and look at Caleb.
And if you guys are wondering why we're so stuck on Darren Waller, is because based on the way his team is constructed, is probably the least disposable position he has, and is one of his probably best trade assets as well.
Yeah, agreed. So this team has Mark Andrews, not a good candidate. Mitch, he's gonna have Kittle, probably not a good asset.
Man, I remember when there wasn't that many good tight ends in the NFL.
Dude, Hardy has TJ Hawkinson. Did we look at Caleb already? Caleb has, yeah, he has Mark Andrews. And then what did we say? Nick and Barmore. Barmore's probably the candidate if you're going to move him because he has Goddard, but you could potentially add to Goddard. Goddard hasn't been great. So he's potentially an asset. And then let's just double check Nick. They say Nick's number 1 at tight end. He has Laporta and Kyle Pitts. He definitely doesn't need a tight end either. So, man, I think let's look at Barmore. Barmore is going to be potentially a candidate here. If he wants to add another tight end, maybe he's upset with Dallas Goedert, or maybe what you want to work.
Can I make a suggestion?
Trade Kelsey instead?
Trade Kelsey for trade him for a lesser tight end and the extra piece. Okay, and so for that, I'm going to the team with Goddard.
Well, yeah, that's a good idea. So let's take this one. We'll take Kelsey. We'll go to the team with Goddard.
Taking Goddard, yep.
And then we wanted to add probably some type of wide receiver. You could even add quarterback help because, like we said, his team is Daniel Jones. Let's see. It's Daniel Jones, Jalen Hurts, and Mac Jones. So we could potentially add another quarterback here, which you could maybe go Goddard and Howell, which Goddard and Howell would probably give you. Howell's probably going to give you high-end quarterback 2 numbers in that super flex spot most of the rest of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Which then contender value, you're probably not getting what it's worth. I mean, look at the difference here. You're probably not getting what it's worth.
No, you're
Dynasty
not.
Value.
I'm sorry, man. Travis Kelce is like a top 5 fantasy player, like point blank, period.
Do you think?
Damn near. So I feel like I'm asking for Dallas Goedert, and I'm asking for every good wide receiver he has. I'm asking for Waddle, and I might throw in a small piece just to make the numbers look good. Like I'm asking for Cooper Kupp. I'm going to send him multiple trade packages, and I'm gonna be like, look, which one you want?
Yeah. And so I'm looking at it as well, and I'm thinking, do you think you could potentially, I mean, this team, like you said, they have Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle. These are both really good contending pieces, and they're long-term pieces for this team as well. Do you think they'd be willing to part with a Cooper Kupp, and you could potentially get Kupp and Goddard for Kelsey?
Oh.
It seems a little heavy, but maybe you could throw in a
Miles Sanders,
a Jerry Jeudy.
Miles Sanders, yeah, okay, or Jerry Jeudy, one of those tier of guys. Like I'm definitely throwing in a useless guy like Miles Sanders. I know you like him, but he's a useless guy.
I mean, I'm definitely not opposed to trading Miles Sanders at this point.
Yeah, like this is a trade where like you're looking for a little fluff. Like let me throw in something to make the trade package more enticing, but in reality, it's a piece that I don't really care about, but I'm going to pretend like that piece is something I care about.
Yeah, totally agree. So that's potentially a move you could make. It could be Sanders, it could be Jeudy, whatever Barmore prefers, I guess. But I think I agree with you, War. It makes more sense almost in this aspect to take Kelsey and down tier and get the extra piece at the wide receiver position than it does to just try and direct 1-for-1 swap with Waller.
See, Andrew, though, man, this is another, and I know we talked about it before we came on live.
It's another
This is
reason why you
another
want to
thing.
blow it up.
Yeah, man, you know me. You know I would have blown this team up. Like I'll be like, okay, these guys can do it. Let me get like Kelsey could easily get you like a first plus. He
Yeah.
get you that. He
Yeah.
get you that. Like a lot of the only guy when I look at this team, the only guy scroll down Anthony Mack's team real quick. Yeah, man. It's kind of like a why waste time situation, man. Like he has okay.
I mean, you're building around Jalen.
Yeah, I'm trading everybody except Jalen, and then Stephon Diggs and Kelsey. I'm asking for a haul for them.
Okay. Well, all right. So this is what I'm gonna do, War. I think you could take this either way. I think you could try and push your chips in. The problem with pushing your chips in, and this is why I said if you would have given us this team 3 weeks ago, it probably would have been easier because what I don't like is that he's 5-3 and potentially going into week 9 now, where games are tomorrow, and he could win another one, go 6-3, and then be trying to blow it up at the deadline. I mean, it just feels like
It
it's a
feels
little late.
nasty.
It feels late to be blown up, but I do honestly agree with you to the aspect of like you either blow it up now or you blow it up in the off season, but one of those times you have to blow it up because
Yep.
you just don't have the firepower long term to be a contender for a 2 or 3 year window, which I think
And then
in Dynasty is what we should be playing in. We should be playing in those 2 or 3 year windows anyways.
it's just also the fact that like, do you want to give up assets like high quality assets now, like Kelsey, during a season where you're probably still not going to have enough horses to win the race, and then get to the off season now you can't use those assets to like jumpstart your rebuild.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? We've done this too, where we sit around and we look at a roster and we try and okay, you could contend if you do this, you could contend if you do that, and neither you nor I feel great about some of that stuff. I think the reality is it does make more sense to kind of blow this up.
And dude, and if you don't want to blow it up like during the season, you definitely probably want to take like some of those extra pieces, guys like Sanders, Judy, Aaron Jones, and try to like get you an extra piece just to like, make the playoffs and try to catch someone slipping. But I don't know, man.
Hey, you're saying it. You're saying to blow it up, so I'm gonna entertain it. Let's come up with some moves to blow it up. And whether you want to blow it up, Anthony, whether you want to blow it up now or you want to blow it up in the off season, I think both of these will be still valid takes. Even if you want to blow it up later, you can still use some of the advice. And I think if you want to go in this year, and this is the last I'm going to say about going in on the championship, if you want to go in this year, I think the pieces you need to do is you just real cut raw and dirty. You got to cut or you got to move Darren Waller for a wide receiver. And then you probably are going to have to, if you're going to go in, you're going to have to trade some future draft capital to go get some more high-end assets, pair them with some of these guys like DJ Moore and a first and go get a high-end asset, which could potentially allow you to make a run this year. But like War is saying, like, is it going to be enough firepower? Because you have teams like
Andrew.
Nick, who has Jahmyr Gibbs, DeAndre Swift, Javonte Williams, Alvin Kamara, James Conner, Chris Godwin, Devontae Adams, Zay Flowers, Keenan Allen. Like he's built to go. And Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, like he's built to go. So
Do
you
you
got to
have do you
go ahead.
have how his team is lined up? Like how his starting roster should look?
Let me see if I can pull that up.
Because
Because
I still before we start entertaining blowing it up, I still want to like at least think of like a smaller move that like we could do for him to like try to like get something done this season. And then like, but it's gonna be tough sledding, okay.
how's that?
Okay, so I'm imagining that he's not starting Henderson and Jones like long
Every
term.
week.
So basically, it looks like he's a little somewhat heavy at running back. It looked like he's a little heavy at running back. He has Jerome Ford, who, bar injury, is probably going to hold on to that starting spot for the rest of the season. You got Brian Robinson, who, I mean, he's hit and miss. He's definitely a flex player. And can you go to his bench?
Yeah, let's look at it.
Let's see here. Miles Sanders, Cam Akers. What's your forecast on Cam Akers for the rest of the season?
I mean, I think the reality of it is he's gonna get worked in, and he's been getting worked in. And I do like Cam Akers. I think he put in our Discord. I don't know if this is the league, but he put in the Discord that he got Cam Akers for a 4th round pick, just as like a why not trade. Somebody offered him that, and so he took it. The problem is that I think they're gonna go committee approach the rest of the year, and so I think that Madison and Akers both pretty much have limited upside, but I don't mind having Cam Akers on the bench in case there was a Madison injury or in case they do decide to just give him more work. Because in all honesty, as a Vikings fan, somebody who's been watching these games, Akers looks better than what Madison has put on the field. Like, he looks better when he's on the field. So I'm sure the coaching staff sees that as well.
And what's your opinion on the Broncos committee with Jaleel McLaughlin and Javonte Williams? Do you think McLaughlin is gonna
He's a handcuff.
He's a handcuff, so you don't think he's gonna like be enough to produce at least flex? Okay.
No, I think he was because they were still working in Javonte from that knee injury, but they're starting to give him more and more carries, and I would be shocked if Javonte isn't a 20 carry running back by the end of the year, or 20 opportunity running back by the end of the year.
So here's my next question. We don't know the level of knowledge that the rest of Anthony Mack's league mates have. Jaleel McLaughlin, what did he put up decent numbers in his most recent game?
We can look. I don't know what he put up, but my guess is it wasn't great. Let's see, McLaughlin. And this is a PPR league, so we'll look at the PPR scoring, but it looks like in his last game he put up like 6 points.
Okay, but you still might have some league mates that are still like, hey, this guy is good or whatever. Okay, so what I'm thinking is this. I don't think right now you're going to be able to get much from Miles Sanders because I think the general consensus on Miles Sanders is that Chuba Hubbard is taking his place, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the value is at an all-time low on Miles Sanders right now. I think he's a player right now. If you want to get the juice out of that player or that asset, he's a hold until probably the offseason when there's better talking points for Miles Sanders than right now.
Okay, so here's what I'm thinking with this roster. I'm thinking
George asked if he should drop Quentin Johnston for Jeff Wilson. I would say no.
In Dynasty or redraft?
I think this is a redraft.
I still don't like it.
Yeah, I'd rather have Quentin Johnston. He looked pretty decent last week.
Yeah, even though it was against the Bears.
And Achane is coming back.
That's true. Yeah, no. I think that maybe we're looking at this a little bit the wrong way. I think maybe what if we traded a couple of these running backs, these mid running backs, with Darren Waller to a team that's short on running backs, and maybe get their backup tight end, who's more than likely not going to be as good as Waller for a wide receiver. So if you had a team that's like a little bit deep at wide receiver, but thin at running back, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you wanna build it to contend then?
You know what? I feel like I'm looking at it like, what if Anthony Mack, came to us with this because he said, damn it, I want to push the chips into the middle of the table. And I don't want us to be like, well, you want to push the chips in? We going to push the chips back. I don't want to I want to at least give him one move that he could make to make his roster better.
Okay.
I'm definitely keeping Jerome Ford. But you got to give up something, so you kind of have to choose between Aaron Jones and Jerome Ford if you want like a good wide receiver. Henderson.
So let's go quick and dirty. I'm gonna give it. Let's go 2 or 3 contending moves that you could make, and then let's just take it to rebuild and let him make the decision. Because at the end of the day, this is his team. We're just here to give advice. So
Okay.
let's do 2 or 3 win now moves that we can potentially look at. You said you want to explore throwing a running back in Darren Waller. I think we could explore maybe down tiering from Kelsey to get some extra depth. And then another one would be maybe just moving. I would say maybe taking like Mac Jones or somebody else, maybe Daniel Jones, and pairing one of your extra running backs to maybe get a slight upgrade at the quarterback position. Those would be probably 3 moves that I would look at.
So we're in agreement that this has to involve running backs because that's where it seems he has the depth. Okay.
So let's do this. Let's pull this up. And we're probably going to be moving no matter which way we cut it, we're most likely moving contending pieces outside of maybe the Mac Jones trade, because you could move Mac Jones to a rebuilding team if they believe in Mac Jones. The problem is it's hard to find a lot of people that believe in Mac Jones, but
very hard. Unless Josh McDaniels goes back to work for them.
Yeah. I mean, but let's look at this, right? So let's go trade calculator and keep in mind, we don't have to make the values totally add up. We're not using this as gospel, but it's just showing you some ideas so we can see it on screen. That's really what I'm using it for. But we're going to let's start with the first one. You said you want to explore potentially. So he has Aaron Jones, Brian Robinson, Miles Sanders, Jerome Ford. We said Miles Sanders is probably just a hold and see what that ends up being.
Yeah, we don't think we could get nothing for him.
So are we sending Daryl? Are we sending Cam Akers? Are we sending?
We're keeping Cam Akers because if push comes to shove, I feel like he's a player on the rise. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to end up trading Jerome Ford or Aaron Jones, you're probably going to have to hope that Cam Akers gets more touches in the near future.
Well, let's take one of these 2 guys then. We have Aaron Jones and Brian Robinson, because I think in our running back 2 slot, we'll just play Jerome Ford most of the year. It'll be Jerome Ford, Miles Sanders, or Darrell Henderson. We'll just pick the matchups between those 3 the rest of the year. So let's take Aaron Jones or B-Rob. Which one do you want to trade more? I would rather trade Jones.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to, because I think Jones has the name value to like increase your return.
But I think he has more upside than Brian Robinson when he's healthy. And Brian Robinson, you could trade him to a contending team or a rebuilding team just based off of his age.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So let's explore one for both. I'll take Brian Robinson, and we said we were going to take Brian and we were going to pair him with
Darren Waller.
We said Waller.
Yeah.
And so let's go back to some of these. Well, if we're pairing with Darren Waller, I think we got to take Aaron Jones because it's a contending piece. So now we got to give him 2 contending pieces, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense to put Darren Waller and Brian Robinson and send him to a rebuilding team. So we'll take those contending teams. We should honestly probably just go back to the guy who had who's the guy who had Goddard?
I think that was Barmore.
Because he was the weakest of those contending teams at tight end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's the weakest at tight end. So he's more likely to take this move.
So we definitely got to put Higbee in there. We definitely want to throw Higbee in there because, we're basically convincing him that, you can have 2. Goddard isn't
Hear me out. What if we went and got Goddard?
Okay, I see where you're going.
And then we're going to take a wide receiver like Nico.
Oh, that's not bad. And then let's look at this too. Is their league set up like where you can start multiple tight ends?
Yeah, you can flex a tight end. And it's
I
a
could
tight end,
definitely
it's a
see
tight
the
end premium
value.
league too.
Yeah, I could definitely see the value in starting Kelsey and Goddard.
Yeah, you could start both, or I bet you could get more in the trade room for Goddard if you wanted to make a second move and ship Goddard to another team that potentially
How's
needed one.
Barmore at running back?
His
Let's see
running
if he even
backs:
has the incentive to
Pollard, Monty, Ty Chandler.
Okay, yeah. So that team should be wanting
He
between
should,
Pollard being like kind of a disappointment and Monty being very injured. I
and
definitely
then
think he should
yeah.
be thinking about a running back.
Yeah, so this is potentially a move you could make. If you didn't want to get the tight end back, you could maybe even just go along the lines of where you said, where we maybe don't get the starting tight end back. We're just looking for a bench piece. So we take where's Higbee? We could just take Higbee back, and then we could throw in a better wide receiver, which maybe you just go Cooper Kupp. If you can
Or if
pull
you
that
want to
off,
do a hybrid move, you take Nico Collins and you get some draft capital back as well.
you could do that.
That way you could kind of continue to try to win and get some future
Maybe something like this. Now, this doesn't feel like a contending move, though. I will say that. I think Nico, Higbee, I think what I'd rather do, honestly, what I'd rather do is screw this. I'd rather take both of these guys, and I'd rather go in and I want to turn my Aaron Jones into a Mike Evans because we need the wide receiver. We don't need the running back. That's pretty much an equal swap across the board.
Yeah.
And then you could take, I think at this point, you could take that second round pick and Higbee, and you could probably call that one. You get your backup tight end that's not as good as Darren Waller. You go get Mike Evans in a second round pick. That feels a lot better.
It does, and no, now even though we're not using it, the numbers even kind of match up.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know what it's going to look like contending wise. It's pretty close there too. So, and who knows? Maybe what you could do. I don't know if you would agree to this, War. Maybe you can get him to throw in JK, because to some people, JK is pretty much free. And I feel like if you're going to hold Miles Sanders, you could just hold J.K. Dobbins as well and let his value increase later in the offseason. But
I mean, open his team back up. Open his team back up.
Who? Anthony?
No, Barmore. You know what I mean? Once I get started, let's see.
I mean, his team is pretty, honestly, his team is top heavy as hell. And then it just falls off. I mean, he has no depth. Like, these are his best bench players.
That's not good.
So, honestly, I think Barmore, when I was looking at it on because he showed me his league standings, and I want to say Barmore low-key, and I'm not trying to roast Barmore by any means, but it looks like he's kind of a pretender, because when I was looking at his total points, let's see. Or no, Mitch is kind of the pretender, because Mitch's points for are 200 points less than everybody else that has the same record as him. So Mitch is potentially somebody too that's also a pretender, which I think it's because just failed Deshaun Watson so far this year. A slow start from Burrow and Eckler. Yeah, he's not a pretender. He just was hurt. That's what it looks like. But I think that's a move. Let's look at one more war here real quick, because I want to look at potentially just moving one of these guys. Like if you took, again, we could just look at Aaron Jones. And if you wanted to just move Aaron Jones straight across, let's look at some of these teams that are weak at running back. Because we've fully determined that we are heavy at running back and we're light at wide receiver. Right. So let's take one more look here. Let me share this tab instead. And it looks like the weakest teams are Hillbillies, Barmore. Barmore is probably his best trade candidate for this type of move. And then let's see, Hillbillies. Maybe blame Canada. Who is this? Blame Canada. I don't know who that is. I wish that Keep Trade Cut put their sleeper name instead of the team name that they named it. But that's another one. I think if you took, I mean, we could even look here. Red Pandas, his team's young. He's not going to need Aaron Jones. Caleb, he's older. Saquon, Mark Andrews, Calvin Ridley. Now that's potentially a move. If you need a wide receiver, you can buy underperforming Calvin Ridley, and move Aaron Jones over. Oh wait, I'm not even showing the screen. My bad. This is the move that I was talking about here, though. He's running backs. He has CMC, Saquon, Derrick Henry. I guess he doesn't really need a running back. Nick has Gibbs, Swift, Javonte. Could Kamara there too. Kravitz. Nope. Actually, you know what? Kravitz might. No, it's not Kravitz. Who was the one that I just looked at? Mitch? Yes, because he has Eckler, and then he has Najee. Very disappointing from Najee this year. Joe Mixon, not been great. And then he's banking on like Kyron Williams, Jamal Williams. He could potentially use a running back. And maybe you can go get a Hollywood Brown for Aaron Jones. That's potentially a move as well if you're just trying to add a wide receiver. But I think more importantly, I want to identify with you really quickly if we do move the other way, because we are getting close to our hour mark. We have 15 minutes probably. So let's look at this team portfolio for him right now. And if we were to blow it up, which I think you and I have now, after walking through this for about 30 minutes, I do think that we probably, in the best interest of the team, I think blowing it up is probably a better move.
Yeah, because we're struggling over here
to find contending moves, and that's not a good sign. When you're struggling to find contending moves, it's not a good sign. What that really means is you're not a contender. You're a pretender. And yeah, I mean, I just think we need to rebuild. So where you look at it, at his quarterback position, Jalen Hurts, you said you want to keep. Daniel Jones and Mac Jones, are you wanting to re-roll the dice here on these guys, or
flex?
Yeah, it's super flex.
I'm definitely trying to get some draft capital that could give me a legitimate second quarterback.
Yeah.
So pretty much all these guys except Hurts are like candidates to be moved, if you're asking me.
Yeah. Okay. And then for the running backs, you're probably in a rebuild mindset. You probably would sell high on Ford's value right now. It's probably not going to get any higher than it is right now.
I trade all of them.
B-Rob, Henderson, Sanders, Jones. Yeah,
he doesn't have one running back that I wouldn't trade.
I think that's technically the general way that you and I think is every running back, no matter if you're in a rebuild or a contend, is available. But I do think of the guys here, Brian Robinson is probably his most valuable running back moving forward for him.
Yeah.
And then let's look at the wide receivers. I mean, we know we have the trade value in Stephon Diggs. Or actually, we're looking at tight ends. We know we can move Kelsey and Waller for a bag. We know we can move Stephon Diggs for a bag if we wanted to. What are we thinking on DJ Moore long term? You're the Bears guy.
If they get Marvin Harrison Jr. somehow, then that's going to be a problem. Like, I think DJ has been great, but he's not so great that I wouldn't trade him for high draft capital.
Yeah, I agree. And I do not like Jerry Jeudy. I just think he's very overrated. Always has been. Anyways, but let's look at some of these moves. First and foremost, like who are the top three? Like we should trade them right now. It's probably Kelsey, Diggs, and Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
And Kelsey and Diggs, I'm gonna write down some ideas. Kelsey, are we trying to down tier to a younger tight end and get extra on top?
If you get Sam Laporta or Dr. Kincaid in a pick, that would be great.
I like the Laporta. I mean, I like the Kincaid. I also don't mind, like, didn't a guy have
I'm asking for more though for King. Like if I down tier for Kincaid,
I
I
personally
want.
at this point I don't think you can get Laporta for Kelsey. It sounds crazy, but I don't think you can do it.
I will still try. I will still try, but don't expect much else other than just Laporta himself.
How do you feel about potentially going from like Kelsey to Kyle Pitts and then getting like a bigger piece on top?
Kyle Pitts.
No. What about let's see.
I like the Dalton Kincaid idea. Perfect.
I do like the Dalton Kincaid.
Just on the strength that you got a young tight end, he's paired with a young quarterback. You know, there's a lot of meat left on that bone. So
all right, well let's look at this. We'll go Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid, he's on Hill Bullies team. The problem is that Hill Bullies is a rebuilder. So if you did go Kelsey, I mean, for some reason the numbers are not fair. I guess you have to give more, but
yeah, no, that's not a good trade, Dan.
Yeah, it's not. I think the one that I like the most is I know you kind of grimaced at it, but Kyle Pitts, he was on a contending team. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he's on Nick. Nick is like projected to win the championship. So give the guy who's projected to win the championship, Travis Kelsey, and secure him so he goes and gets that championship. And you can probably get Kyle Pitts also because he has Sam Laporta, so he doesn't care about adding Travis Kelsey as an older tight end. So you can probably go get Kyle Pitts, and then I think you could probably get something else thrown in. I know the dynasty values say that Pitts is worth more. Screw that. The contending value is worth more.
No about contending value because that's what Nick is going to be looking at.
Yeah. There might be a way where I want to see where Nick is strong at. His strongest position is running back.
Oh, that's perfect.
His second strongest is QB. So let's look at some of the.
Who's his quarterbacks?
He has Lamar, Geno, Russell Wilson, and Desmond Ridder. So they're older.
That's not going to help much.
Running backs, he has Swift, Kamara, Gibbs, Javonte.
Javonte. Yeah, immediately. I actually peeped that soon as you scrolled the first time you scrolled through his roster, and you said he's strong in running back. That's why I said that's perfect.
Yeah. So what do you think? I mean, this might be similar. Let's just double check this because I want to make sure we are checking all angles of this thing.
Can we get
I'm gonna share this tab? There? Let's see what this is worth. It's slightly in the Pitts and Williams side favor.
Throwing Miles Sanders. There we go.
So that's potentially a move you could make. I don't even think you have to throw in Miles Sanders. What if you threw in like somebody who we know his value is too high right now?
Oh, yeah, that'll work.
I think that's potentially a move you could make if you're trying to rebuild, get you two younger assets and probably more sustainable asset in Javonte Williams.
And still probably be able to string some wins together this season.
I mean, you could always go the route of like, go find somebody who wants to buy Travis Kelsey and get a what? You think you can get an early 24 first? No, it says See,
He
maybe
gotta
go
have
get.
he has to have an early first, man, because he has to address that quarterback position.
You think so?
Yeah, I feel like when you're in the superflex league, and this theory is probably wrong, and you're probably going to say it's wrong. I almost feel like you need to build from the quarterback position out, because I feel like having two good quarterbacks gives you such an advantage. Like, for example, like in me and your league, I have Burrow and Howell, and my team like couldn't win a game when Burrow was like playing like average or like a little below average, and then he starts to get better, and I start to win. So just having those two pieces, like I feel like just get oh, you got to put the cat away. You got those two pieces, like at the quarterback position, just kind of just pushes your team forward.
Yeah, I agree. And I think reality is, man, like, and I know we struggled with this one. So I apologize to Anthony because I should have been more prepared. We should have been more prepared. We should have had better uh, analysis for him. And so what I want to do is I want to do a part 2 to this, to either this team in the off season so we can address this, or maybe, if there's another team, that you want us to do, maybe we can do that too. But we definitely owe you one on this one, Anthony, because I don't feel like we gave you the best analysis we should have gave you. But I do think, just being honest, I think you can push to a contend. Crazy year things have happened where, those top teams, they don't win a championship. The reality is if you make the playoffs, you have a chance. The problem is with that too, if you do push your chips in and you don't make it, you have a lot of older assets on this team and some low end assets that probably aren't being valued where they should be, or will lose value in the offseason. Whereas right now, they're probably at their highest value. Now, I understand that all leagues have different markets. Potentially, I know we saw that one team that had a buttload of picks. Like they may not be selling draft picks right now. And I understand that happens with some leagues markets. So that's where you have to get creative. You have to buy like younger assets and maybe potentially like injured assets at lower volume or at a lower cost so they can increase in value over the offseason. Because what I'm essentially doing when I'm rebuilding is I am trying to find as many pieces as possible that can increase in value over the next 6 to 12 months. That's what I want to do. So like some of those pieces, even though they're not necessarily rebuilding pieces, like if you went and bought a Kirk Cousins, who some people might be giving away like for nothing right now. And in fact, maybe that's a move that you could make, is like you take Mac Jones and go give him to the Kirk Cousins owner, because we know that come like September of next year, Kirk Cousins is going to be valued top 12 again, where he was.
Yep.
So, you're buying low now to get that increase in value. That's stuff that I'm looking at doing. But yeah, man, I feel bad because I feel like we didn't address the team the way that it needed to be addressed. And it's true. It's a tough team. And there's just tough teams like that where, the chips have fallen right. All the cards have been played right. His team is in a good spot right now, record wise. And it's maybe just too late in the season to be doing, blowing it up. But I think more than anything, man, we know that quarterback 2 position, Mac Jones and Daniel Jones, they're not the guys that are going to get it done. That quarterback 2 position needs to be addressed really quickly. And then that wide receiver room needs to be addressed pretty quickly as well, because I don't think you should ever have a stronger running back room than you do a wide receiver room. Mm-hmm. Not in a dynasty.
No, absolutely.
And you have a really strong tight end room, which does allow you some flexibility to go get some other pieces, because your tight end room is so strong in a tight end premium
They're
league.
older tight ends, so they need.
Yeah. So definitely some work to do, but I think overall the theme.
But you got Jalen Hurts, and that's a hell of a start.
And I think overall, though, the theme war is you and I think that it needs to get younger. And here's another idea too. And I'm just throwing this out here. I'm not going to go through the whole trade or whatever, But what is your thoughts, War, on like potentially taking Jalen Hurts and selling him to, let's say, like the CJ Stroud manager and getting an extra first thrown in, like CJ Stroud and a first, and you give up Jalen Hurts?
That's strictly an off-season move. Like I definitely, and if I'm not getting a top like 5 pick out of that, I'm not doing it.
Okay, fair enough. But I think there's some moves like that. You got to get creative though. But I think these top end assets, the Diggs, the Kelsey, the Hurts, Aaron Jones, some of those top high end assets, those guys got to go. We got to move them for more youth, more draft capital, because you just don't have the quarterback talent on this roster to make it to a championship, I don't think. And I think you're lacking a lot of wide receiver depth. Like in his starting lineup that he had out there, he was putting Kadarius Toney. Like if you're playing Kadarius Toney as your wide receiver, you're probably not a contending team. It's just, and he's gonna laugh. He's gonna laugh because he knows I'm notorious for hating on Kadarius Toney. But the reality is, what Tony's putting up 4-point weeks for you, 5-point weeks for you. It's not gonna be good.
Yeah, no.
So
yeah, starting Tony is
So, anyways, man, I do want to help Anthony again, and appreciate Anthony for sharing his team with us, letting us, kind of talk through it, go through some of that, and being so active in the Discord. I appreciate you, Anthony. But Ward, do you have anything else for us? I see Brando's in here. You said what up? You have anything else for us before we get out of here?
No, man. I just wish that we could have gave him some stronger answers. That's all.
Yeah. Hey, man. We're gonna look. This isn't the first. It's what, our second team audit that we've done. We're gonna find better ways to audit these, and that's part of this whole process, man. Like we still are a very young show. I know we have this damn cat, bro. We're still a young show. We're still, working on getting better at this whole thing, being able to help people. It's easy for us to do this in our leagues. It's easy for us to, plug things into a calculator, but being able to take some of these tougher teams and give people the direction to rebuild or to contend, that's tough at times. And we're getting better at this. That's part of the fun of being so young here on YouTube. I mean, how many shows are we in? Probably 30 something, 40 something.
Feels like 1,000.
Feels like 1,000, but we're only like 30 shows in. So I'll actually get an official count, but we'll get better at this. We'll get more, and it's not the last audit we're going to do, but I think we'll go back to the drawing board, War, and we will figure out a different way how we want to do these team audits moving forward, and see if we can get better at making this a little bit more clear and have a little bit more direction.
Yes, sir.
But all right, guys, that is all I have for us today. So I'm putting you on the spot here, War. Just cause. Give me a bold prediction for week 9 this weekend, tomorrow. Give me a bold prediction for tomorrow.
My bold prediction. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to do it like a non-Bears related bold prediction. Who are the Raiders playing?
The Raiders are playing. Let's see. Who do they play? I should know because I have them. They play the Giants.
I predict Aiden O'Connell is going to get a victory, his first victory.
You think so?
The Raiders quarterback.
Okay, fair enough. I'll give you one too. You said not to do a Bears one, so I'm trying not to do a Vikings one. But I was gonna say I think Jaren Hall beats the Atlanta Falcons, but that's kind of in the same line as yours. How about bold prediction? Josh Jacobs. I'm going into your Raiders thing as well, but Josh Jacobs finishes as the running back 1 this week in fantasy football. I had him as a start of the week. When he had Aiden O'Connell last time, which is week 4 of the season, Josh Jacobs got like 13 targets with Aiden O'Connell at the quarterback position.
I didn't know that.
That's more than wide receivers are getting, bro.
Sheesh.
So I think Josh Jacobs, if he falls into the end zone, he gets some of that receiving work. He could be the running back 1 this week. So overall, that is it. But you guys know what to do, man. Hit the like button before you get out of here. Hit the subscribe button. And better team audits on the way. Again, Anthony, I apologize, man. Love you anyways. But War, what do you say we get out of here?
Yeah, and check out the Crimson Mass show on YouTube.
Sir.
And we're gonna be following the Crown Jewel Premium Live event this weekend. Not live, definitely reaction show, but yeah.
Yes, sir. All right, man. I'll see you on the next one, War.